Well, we're all ready for race 2 of the Davanti Tyres MX5 Cup, and as you can see, the competitors are as well. With no championship permutations to consider for race 2, perhaps we should enact that old motor racing cliche that it's all about looking about who will be fastest ahead of next year. But actually, I think it's all going to be about what happens on that 300 circuit today. These guys are just going to go wheel to wheel once again. So enjoy this. Andy, over to you.
Yes, well, confirmation there from Paul. The championship is now provisionally wrapped up, and it's Paul Mcguire, the champion. It's Ben Short and Ben Abbott, though, on row 1 for race 2, with Ali Bray and Paul Monteith next. Daniel Grist and Ben Hansey are on row 3 with Paul Bateman, Ian Tomlinson, Paul Mcguire, the champion-elect, and Bobby Andrews rounding out the top 10. There is still, though, this interesting fight for second in the points, because just 3 points now separate Ben Hansey and Ian Tomlinson, so that is an interesting battle to watch over the course of these last 2 races. The red lights are on, though. We're about to go racing in much more pleasant conditions this morning at Snetterton. Away we go. Good start made there by Ali Bray on the inside of row number 2. But it's wheel to wheel for the lead with Ben Abbott on the outside. All contact off into the barriers. Oh dear. And that is Ben Hansey. Ben Hansey off the road. The number 40 car is out of the race, surely. Well, no, he's going to try and carry on, in fairness. That's going to be the second race in a row where Ben Hansey has had dramas early on. Now, of those top 3 in the championship, he is the only one who has no more drop scores to fall back on, and it's typical, isn't it, that he's the one who's had 2 early race dramas. But let's see if he can continue, first of all, and if he can, how far back up the order he can get. Remember, as I said, he's just 3 points ahead of Ian Tomlinson for second in the championship. At the front of the field, though, Ben Short, the other Ben, is running fairly well. In fact, both of the Bens at the front are having good form here, because Ben Abbott is second, but up the inside is looking, who's that, number 42? Yes, I thought it was Paul Bateman from 7th on the grid, is now into second place down at Agostini for the first time. Through the left-hander up the slight incline towards Hamilton. Slightly damp track offline after the rain never really abated until quite late on into the evening yesterday. Side by side here, that's Grist on the outside, Daniel Grist, and one car to the left of him, and behind him is Bobby Andrews. The car going around the outside will complete the manoeuvre, I think, just about on the way out of Oggies and down in towards the... No, it won't, actually, and that was number 72 trying to go through, Matthew Short, who has to duck back in behind. You can see already, though, the speeds are up today. The quality of the racing, therefore, should be a little bit better than yesterday, where I think most drivers were glad just to keep it on the island. Under the Snetterton access bridge they go then. Ben Short leading the way. Into second place is Paul Bateman. Third place then for... that's Ali Bray, isn't it, who's gone into third. Dyson going on behind, and they're 3 abreast, and that's the new champion in the middle of all of that now, Paul Mcguire, trying to work his way through. Can't afford any penalties here, though, because if he were to have contact, he could, in theory, be docked some championship points, so he'll want to try and keep his nose clean at the very least for these last couple of races, but at the same time, having got the championship winning bit out of the way, now it's time to just try and work his way up the order a bit. On board with Paul Monteith, starting third, because he's running 6th now, and so not a great opening lap for Paul, as he heads back out onto the main straight again at the end of the opening lap of the race. In yesterday's race, we got 5 laps in. I would hope we'd get at least 1 more in today in the slightly dry conditions, maybe even 2, as Ben Short locks the front left brake there, turning in towards the first quarter. Then this fight for second place, number 42 Paul Bateman, number 76 Ali Bray, and then everyone else just carving in behind. There's Mcguire going around the outside in towards turn 1, trying to chase down now Matthew Short in the number 72 car. Gets a good exit from Riches, looks to the inside line. He's going to be able to go through. Let's see. Not quite, I don't think, on the way into the corner. On the exit of the corner is Paul Bateman, though, in second position, the number 42 car. And Paul Bateman, they start this one where they finished yesterday, so his 7th place grid position reflected his 7th place finishing position yesterday, but he's running in second now, and Bateman looking strong here potentially for another podium finish. He had those 2 wins last time out at Donington, but as I said in race 1, that was his only appearance so far in the season. And so we knew that he was quick, but it's a shame in a way he hasn't been able to get away with Ben Short, because I don't think there's any catching Ben Short at this rate. It's all about this fight for second. Ian Tomlinson there running a bit better in this one too, so he is looking really strong now, isn't he, to move into second place in the championship, because wherever Ben Hansey finishes in this race, he will have to count it as a score. So Ian Tomlinson, if he's in the top 3 or 4, it's really going to take some points out of him. On board with Paul Monteith, looking back at the BS Motorsport run car of Matthew Short, who was squealing under braking there, his car was anyway, down in towards Oggies, and just about avoided getting into the back of our onboard camera car, which is good because that would have meant the Yoda's a new onboard camera, but thankfully kept it clean. He's in the tow again though now, down the Bentley straight. Look at that, you can see the slipstream effect there as he pulls to the inside line. Nicely done there, as long as he can make the move stick under braking though. Matthew Short on the inside, no, he's not going to be able to make it stick, look. And in fact, for good measure, here comes Daniel Grist up the inside of him. So, went for a move, didn't work, ended up losing a position. Out onto the grass goes our camera car. And that was Paul Monteith taking an agricultural exit there from the S's. And it goes from bad to worse for Matthew Short, because through now, up the inside line comes Paul Mcguire. So Mcguire moves his way up another position. Ben Short, though, is at the top finish line already. Look at the lead that he's got after just 2 laps of racing over. Still number 42, Paul Bateman in second. Ali Bray is right behind him, though, in third, using the slipstream to stay with him. Then 4th place for Ian Tomlinson. Then the gap back to 5th place, Paul Monteith. Excuse me, 5th place is not Paul Monteith. There is Paul Monteith. We're running through in 6th position. Sam Moody, I think, was it, that was up there in 5th potentially. No, Ben Abbott, excuse me, Ben Abbott, that makes more sense, doesn't it? So Ben Abbott, the guest driver, doesn't score championship points as a result of being a guest driver. It's the purple car that you just caught a glimpse of there running through the Wilson hairpin. Although he was able to finish yesterday's race in 2nd place, he doesn't score any points. That meant that Ali Bray, who was 3rd, actually scored points for 2nd, and Paul Monteith scored points for 3rd, and so on. Back down towards the braking zone, and Agostini's though comes this midfield group, and you can see Bobby Andrews, I think that is in the background, diving up the inside, interestingly, of Paul Mcguire. So Paul Mcguire locks up as well there, down towards the hairpin. Mcguire sideways and almost pointing the wrong way there. So is there something wrong with Mcguire's car? Yes, hand out to the cockpit. Something, I think, may have broken, or was he just warning the cars behind him that he was slow off the corner because of the slide? Not too sure. We'll monitor that in a moment or two, but it's so often the case, isn't it? We see a driver wrap the championship up with a race or two to spare, and then the next couple of races go horribly wrong, and we sit there saying, thank goodness they wrapped the title up with a race or two to spare, because otherwise it might not have gone their way. Back out of Williams goes this fight then with Paul Monteith and Daniel Grist, nose to tail, and Daniel well and truly within slipstreaming range. Matthew Short is not far behind either, and Grist is going to try and go around the outside here down towards Brundle to get the inside for Nelson, because this of course is how he got past Matthew Short a lap ago. He's not as late on the brakes as Monteith, but as long as he's got his nose up the inside line into the right hander, which I think he might do. No, the door is slammed in his face, but out wide, oh way too wide this time goes Paul Monteith. He ran wide there a lap ago, but that was even wider, and on the slightly damp grass he very nearly speared back onto the track and collected Matthew Short. In the end, they avoid contact. Matthew goes through, and Monteith now has it all to do again with dirt on his tyres as well. Now heading through a couple of the quickest corners on the track. That'll focus the mind. Through Coram, back on the brakes, and Matt Wilson there you can see in front of us. 72 car having gained that place, now trying to go after Daniel Grist if at all possible. Daniel was very entertaining in yesterday's race, one of the more sideways drivers out there. Well, actually, so far in this one, he's been relatively reserved, hasn't he? He's keeping the car pointing vaguely in the right direction, whereas those around him are getting very loose indeed. Through go the leading 4 cars, then this Ali Bray car on his own, and then this battle here with Grist and Short, with Monteith just dropping back a bit slightly. Monteith 4th yesterday, but not quite enjoying the same sort of result in the dry. And then you've got Bobby Andrews defending heavily there behind from Paul Mcguire, who was trying to get up the inside towards the hairpin. Made it stick as well. I caught a flash of orange and blue in the background as he moved through. So Mcguire moving up one more position, but having a bit of a lacklustre end to the season, actually. But I suppose he's done everything he needed to. He's wrapped up the title with 2 races to spare, so in a way it doesn't really matter where he ends up in this one. Bobby Andrews coming back at him though, look, and gets sideways coming out of Palmer's there as he gets up the inside line down towards Agostini in the background. That's Ben Hansey, look. So Ben Hansey has got going again, is getting stuck well and truly in, because he knows that this 2nd place in the championship is very precarious indeed. Ian Tomlinson, remember, the Burgundy car some way up the road from him now, is looking likely to take that 2nd place away. So any points that Hansey can get out of this race will be helpful. And he's pretty much on the back now, look, of Paul Mcguire. So Hansey having gained a place there. In fact, he goes up the inside line again. And just as we saw yesterday, in the second half of the race, Hansey suddenly appears inside the top half dozen or so and starts to pick his way forward. So that's 2 places gained already on this lap that we've seen for Ben Hansey. And now he's got a bit of clean air and not that much damage done to the car, thankfully. In fact, the contact that he had with the barrier seems to have done more damage than the contact that he had with the other car. even though he was going a lot quicker when he hit the other car. He'd virtually come to a standstill when he just grazed into the barriers, but anyway, it's only superficial, I think. There's no suspension or steering damage. Bobby Andrews is now his next target, and that will continue his rise inside the top 10, but he's right towards the back of the top 10 at the moment, so he's got work to do here if he wants to get to Ian Tomlinson, who of course is running inside the top 5 through the bomb hole they got, ball with Paul Monteith, looking back now at Daniel Grist. So Monteith somewhere has got back in front of the 43 car, which is again trying this outside at one corner, inside at the next. Oh no, it's all gone wrong though. Daniel Grist, he misjudged the manoeuvre, locked up, slid out wide, and poor old Matthew Short had no idea what was going on there, I'm sure. All of a sudden got sideswiped off the road and ended up losing a couple of positions as a result, because not only did it allow Paul Monteith through, but it also, I think, meant that, Daniel Grist has fallen even further back. Actually, I don't know where Daniel Grist got to, but you may even know there is Daniel Grist in the 43 car, so actually Grist didn't manage to make either move stick, and in fact lost about 5 or 6 places as a result of that one. Get a glimpse there of the 96 car of Sam Moody working his way through, the black car with the orange roll cage and orange wheels and highlights on the car, running on his own at the moment, having a surprisingly lonely race, but down in towards the second half of the field at the moment, just outside the top 15 in fact. Leaders though working their way down towards Agostini. The top 3 I think are fairly well secured. It's all about this battle here, isn't it, because Paul Monteith is trying to fend off everybody. Ben Hansey's going up the inside of him though, down towards the hairpin at Agostini, and he's going to go through, so Hansey gets himself to the front of this queue of cars now. Towards the back of it is the champion-elect Paul Mcguire, who I think really is just trying not to get caught up in anyone else's accident here. There's really no point in getting too stuck in. Yeah, wait, that's another one through there. Either that or there's a problem here for Mcguire. But Paul Mcguire looks at the moment like he's not even going to finish inside the top 10. It's definitely a case of what could have been for Ben Hansey. Had he been able to maybe win that first race, then the championship equation could have been very different indeed. There's Matthew Short then, having survived that assault that he got from Daniel Grist down at the final corner. You can see the witness mark down the left-hand side of the car, but he's okay. He's carrying on, and he's going to set about trying to find a way back ahead of Paul Monteith here, I'm sure. He's in the tow. Now, which side does he go to? The inside at Brundle or the outside? Try and get the inside at Nelson. They're both sort of running down the middle of the road, almost bump drafting each other along the straight. Then they fan out to the outside, goes Short, but he won't go right round the outside, I don't think. Monteith should hang on to it, but he's run wide here a few times already this race. Well, he's run a bit wide there, but not quite as wide as Bobby Andrews does in the background. Monteith hangs on to the place. Whether or not Andrews held on to his position awaits to be seen. Ben Hansey, having now got to the front of this group of cars, has a big old gap, some 12 seconds or so, to try and catch the top 5. So he's into 6th position, I reckon, now. He's not going to get much further, so it's going to be a pair of 6th place finishes potentially here for Hansey. If he were to finish in 6th place, though, that would earn him 92 points, whereas, of course, Ian Tomlinson is on for a potential podium here, so he's going to take a few points out of him. I reckon they're going to be almost level going into the last race now in this fight for second in the points. We'll do the maths, we'll get the calculators out in a little bit when we get a better idea of where they are going to settle down at the end of this one. This fight, though, is anything but settled down, because Matthew Short will be a bit miffed, I think, that Paul Monteith has gone back past him after being harpooned out of the way by Daniel Grist, and Paul Monteith simply waving at them both as he went past. Metaphorically, of course. Then Matthew Short will want to try and make up for that here if he can. He gets a good exit from the Wilson hairpin, gets to Monteith, but just as they hit the brakes into Palmer's. So in the end, can't get through there. Through the long left they go, down this straight with the right hand kink in it, down into the braking zone at Agostini. And is this another opportunity maybe for Matthew to get up the inside? Not quite close enough, I don't think. And Matthew Short has to settle in the wheel tracks now. Paul Monteith for another corner or so. They get a good exit there, really good exit from Agostini. Monteith knows it, pulls to the inside to defend, so Short goes to the outside. In the wet, this would be the place to be, but in the dry, you're on the marbles, you're on the dirty side of the road, and you're going a lot quicker as well. So the outside line is definitely a risky manoeuvre to make. Bobby Andrews now takes advantage of their side-by-side battling to close in. In the background, I noticed that Paul Mcguire potentially was about to lose even more places, though, so for Mcguire, it's going from bad to worse. And this almost certainly now is going to become another one of his dropped scores. It's a good job that he hadn't been off the podium all season until now, because he had these 3 drop scores to drop back on, should he need to. And so, if he finishes down the order now, he's going to gain back another few points. Side by side again here, and this time surely Matthew Short's gone through. He's got the inside towards Brundle. He's got almost his whole car in front of Paul Monteith. Can Monteith get back on the inside though? Yes, he can. Brilliant dicing here between the two of them. Runs wide on the exit, but it doesn't matter. He's got the move made, and in fact, it's Andrews who's quicker off the corner than either of them. Looks to the inside of the bomb hole, but the door was always going to be firmly shut in his face there by Matthew Short, who does indeed manage to hold on to this position. But what does Matthew have to do? He had the move made there, but we've seen time and time again this weekend that if you go around the outside at Brundle, you'll have the inside for Nelson, and you can either make the move or hold on to the position fairly effectively by doing so. Through Murray's, you can see that Short is much tighter to the apex. He's carrying more speed off the corners than Monteith's able to do. And then he has that advantage of the slipstream as well, but Monteith is just tenacious. He's not letting go. Through goes Short this time. Now he's back in the position that he was in down at Nelson last time through. He's got his nose in front, but this time actually gets into the corner first, so he takes the position as we go on to the final lap of the race. So timely move there from Matthew Short. Just needs to hang on for another lap now. Lloyd Huggins there, you can see the red and black number 14 car as someone runs onto the grass in the background. Meanwhile, Ben Hansey, look, has caught Ian Tomlinson by the looks of it. Now this is significant. No, it's not Ben Hansey, excuse me. It's number 76, Ali Bray, has caught Ian Tomlinson and is going through on the inside line. So Ali Bray takes third place away from Tomlinson. I got excited then, thinking it was Ben Hansey. It's not, of course, because between these two and Ben Hansey, we have a big gap and the purple car of Ben Abbott. But that is important because it means that Ian Tomlinson now drops down into fourth position. So he's only going to score 94 points. Hansey will score 92, which means that he will take 2 points out of what was a 3-point advantage. So you do the maths. That means there's 1 point now separating Ben Hansey and Ian Tomlinson for second place in the championship going in to the final race of the season. It's winner takes all basically between the two of them. As long as Ben Hansey can keep it on the island for the first lap, he surely has a good chance of bringing it home in the runners-up position. For Ben Short though, it's been a very lonely race, even more so than yesterday's wet race. He won that one by 6.3 seconds over Ben Abbott. Well, this time around, as long as he doesn't throw it off showboating through the final corner, he's going to win it by about 20 seconds, I'd say. Out of the final turn he comes. Ben Short towards the start finish line and the checkered flag, and he is going to take another race victory here at Donington Park. He takes his second win from 2, and we'll find out later on whether or not he can complete the hat-trick and round his season out in style. That is a 5th victory from 5 races entered as well. Remarkable stuff. There is Paul Bateman. He comes home in 2nd position. That's his 3rd podium of the year. And then, was it Tomlinson or Bray? It was Bray. Ali Bray got back on the podium, and Ian Tomlinson only gets 4th. So he will, now yes, he will actually score the points for 3rd there, won't he? Because Bray is a guest driver, so that changes things slightly in the points. It's Matthew Short then who takes the victory. Paul Bateman 2nd, Alistair Bray 3rd, but does not score the points for 3rd, so Tomlinson will. That means Tomlinson scores 95 points, whilst Ben Hansey in 5th position essentially scores 93. So yes, it's still just the 2-point advantage then. 1 point in it going into the final round later on this afternoon. Just the one retirement this time, that was Ryan Lovelock, and a very entertaining race. Ben Short, though, missed out on all the fun. It was another dominant race victory.
Gloves off, Ben. Just having some fun out there.
Yeah. Car felt absolutely perfect. I wouldn't have changed anything. I woke up this morning and felt fairly good. So once I broke the toe from the other guys, I could see they were fighting. I was just trying to sort of set a lap time, really. And the car just seemed to get quicker and quicker. So I really enjoyed driving it then.
Plan for race 2 more of the same?
Yeah, reverse grid. So we're going to have to see where we start. But reverse grid's always fun, mixes it up a bit. It's a great opportunity for some people who aren't quite at the front normally, and makes it a lot difficult for the people who normally are. So hopefully that will hinder Paul and Ali, and we'll all have a good race back to the front.
Paul, you got a great start.
Yeah, I suppose, did it look good? I mean, it all fell into place. It was lovely. For once, I went, oh, he's bogged, he's done that, I'm going to go left. That guy went slow, and I went round the outside, and I went, no, 2nd place.
Yeah, there were some good decisions there, and there you were in. And then you
get it with the Mazdas. We're all 3 abreast on the track to start with, and you can just get boxed in. And sometimes you just get lucky, and there's a channel open one way or the other, and it worked.
It did work. 2nd in race 2. Well done.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Ali, wasn't that eventful in the end, but you hung on to their coattails.
Yeah, it was eventful. We're lacking a bit of straight line speed. Had to hold on to dear life. Ian's great to race with. I mean, we were seriously close towards the end there, but both of us left enough racing room. Hope the crowd enjoyed it. It was good fun from where I was sitting.
So much so that you actually beat the timing screens home. It was still showing Ian in third place when you got here, so it was close, but you got another race to look forward to.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens later on. If it's dry still, which I think it will be, we're not going to be able to go with the front lot. But yeah, we'll try and mix it up and make it interesting.
So if it's wet, hammer down.
Yeah, if it's wet, we'll be there.